Hi, everyone. This is Ellie from Nourishment Redacted, and this is a series I like to call Mother Knows Best. And this series is for those who are interested in understanding the idea and implementing the lifestyle of meat-based eating for their family. I believe that our children are born bombarded by sugar from the moment that they're born, processed foods and preservatives, and it's kind of like my mission. Wait, let me tilt this down a little bit. It's my mission in life to spread this awareness. And I like to invite moms to come on and experts in this field. And I'm just so excited to introduce you to my guest for today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. So she's a mother of 6, homesteader, cow rancher, homeschooler, multi-business owner. She used to be a plant-based eater, now turned carnivore. Her 6 children and husband all eat a carnivore diet, and they've healed so many ailments and can teach a lot of inspiring moms who might want to adopt a similar lifestyle. And so I am so happy to invite Faith from the Texas Boys and her channel Texas Girls to Mother Knows Best. Hi, Faith. Welcome to Mother Knows Best.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to talk to you tonight. We were gabbing a little backstage, but I've been wanting to talk to you since I saw your segment on the Healing Humanity Carnivore documentary, 24-hour live stream. That's a long statement. I just said a lot of words. I could tell that you and your husband are you have such a strong marriage with wonderful children, and I'm amazed by your businesses and how self-sufficient you are. And I want to invite moms like you who are breaking the mold and showing others how carnivore is realistic. It's possible. You can heal. And I love your message. And I just wanted to say I totally geeked out a little bit when I saw you were chatting with Alia being carnivore moms, and I had hopped onto that stream and I was like, oh, carnivore moms. This is before I thought about doing this series and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. And you had mentioned me. You're like, oh, I see Nourishment Redacted's on. I know she's a carnivore mom. And just my heart fluttered. And I was like, no way, they know who I am. And now we're here talking. And so thanks so much. That was a lot, but it just bottom of my heart.
No, thanks for having me so much. It's so exciting to see moms, and especially young moms, just come to this information, because I'm an older mom. I'm 45, and I have my 3 older ones that are teenagers, and they're doing this, but I also have 3 younger ones, and I just feel like, wow, if I had this information in my younger mom years, I know I would have been a different mom, just a better mom. I would have had more energy. I would have had healthier kids. It's just, this is powerful information. And unless you're searching it out or you're already in the carnivore communities, you're just not going to come across it properly in the mainstream today.
No, absolutely not. It's intentionally kept away from us, and I feel like everything is backwards. They want us to eat lots of vegetables, and they talk about the importance of fiber and just all of that. And then they demonize meat, when in fact we need meat in order to thrive. And so to get started, so I know you have 6 children. I believe in one of your videos you said from 18 years old to 5 years old, that age range. So did you always want a large family?
Well, we just said that we would take it one baby at a time as they come. People would say, we're young married. How many kids do you want? We're like, one at a time. I don't know. We're going to make the decision as it goes, and so, because you have one in there that's really flips the script on you, and then you're like, I don't know, I would have said 10, but then we had him, and I mean, he's crazy. So, maybe not so many. I don't know, you just have seasons of life too, oh, well, he was crazy at 2, but he's really cool at 4, maybe we could have another one, so we never had any set number in our mind, but now being older, we always say to young families, we wish we could have had more. Like, it's so interesting that once you get past, I mean, the Lord could still give us another baby at 45. We're open to that. But it is funny that those years that you're just so overwhelmed and just like so in the trenches with the little ones, and you have like 5 under 5 or something crazy. And then that season passes, and then it's like, oh, wow. Well, I wish we could have had another baby now, but then it's like the time goes. So we always tell young people, like, just, I know it's crazy now, but we've never heard anybody later in years say, like, oh, I wish we would have had less kids. It's like, nobody says that. They all say, I wish we would have had more. So
Oh, yeah.
it's pretty,
That's so true.
yeah, that's old people wisdom for you. Have them while you're young, when you have energy. I know it's crazy, but it all works out. So,
Wow.
so,
That's great. So go ahead,
so
please.
my mom's story, like as far as like health and all of that, was like I was always the tired, exhausted mom. Like I could never commit to things. I could never like commit to a homeschool group. Like I was always like, I'll just show up at the park. I want the group that like I can show up when I want to show up. I'm going to probably be late. I'm going to be like chugging coffee all afternoon just to get through and survive. And I was happy. I was a happy mom, but I was just exhausted. Like that was my description all the time, was just beyond exhausted, just exhausted. And I mean, I made the best of it. I guess it was maybe easier when you're younger, but I was tired. I was just always worn out. And when my oldest son was probably about 16 months old, we had joined this church, and there was a young couple there, and they said they were basically vegan is what they were, but I don't know if anybody even threw around that term back then. And so they were just like healthy people. And she was like, we don't eat dairy, we don't eat grains. She was just going through all these things. And I was like, well, how about eggs? Because we had chickens back then. She's like, well, we don't really use eggs unless we're going to like bake something. And that's like so random. And I'm like, oh, okay. What do you eat? Because I'm just like, what in the world do these people eat? And so that kind of really just prompted us to kind of, and we had met homesteaders, like little backyard homesteaders at that same point in our life. So we were getting chickens, and we had some dairy goats. So we were kind of like getting to this healthy thing. I'm like, oh, you need milk. And she was like, well, we don't really drink milk. They were doing the plant-based stuff. And I was like, I don't know, this is fascinating to me. So she was teaching me like about, healthy meats and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, where we lived, we were up north, and there just wasn't organic beef and all that stuff, grass fed. I mean, you had to find a farm and drive, a couple hours or whatever. So it just wasn't a thing up there. And so we just, I guess little by little, I just kind of weaned meat out of our diet. I would get chicken. I would get like the pre-made chickens, the whole chickens, and I would buy a bunch of them like every month from the grocery store, and then throw them all in the freezer. And then I would just have them like 1 or 2 a week. And that was it. That was our meat for years. That was it. So we did have the dairy goats. So we had milk, but then there would be seasons where there would be dry. So we would just do almond milk or something like that. And then we played around. Me and my husband are both like kind of just learned more and more about like nutrition, or we thought we were learning about nutrition and health and all this stuff. So we were always trying different things. So we did plant-based, and then we did like fruitarian. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it's kind of like extreme plant-based, I thought about the raw vegan stuff. I watched a lot of raw vegan channels, but I never went full on raw vegan. But over the years, that's kind of how we were, or we would say we would eat meat if we went out, and he would always, which we didn't go out very often. I mean, it would be like something special, like a birthday or something like that. But if we went out, then he would either get a steak or a burger and I would get a piece of fish. And that was it. So we had kind of really weaned meat out of our life because I thought we were being healthy. And at the same time, we were doing Whole Foods. I was buying 50-pound bags of everything, and storing that. And, my little one or my big ones, they were little then. They grew up, with 50-pound bags of oats and all the different things and, putting it into containers. And that's just how we ate. So fast forward, we moved down here 10 years ago, and my kids were 9, 7, and 6, my oldest, and we didn't have our youngest 3 yet. And we just continued to do the same thing. And it was funny because we moved to our rental house, and in the back field were all these beef cows. And I thought, how ironic God is, because he does have a sense of humor, because I'm thinking, you moved us to beef country and we don't eat meat. This is really funny, and Texas, everything is beef, so we kind of mingled with people here and there, and they were like, you don't eat meat? We were like, no. And the one poor lady, she was like, okay, honey, well, the next time you go to the grocery store, just get one of those big rolls of ground turkey, because they're really cheap, because we didn't have any money when we moved here anyway. And so I couldn't afford meat in my mind. We had like $100 a week grocery budget when we moved here, and we had 3 kids. And so whatever $100 bought us is what my husband would get at the grocery store and bring home. And so we started buying these big rolls of ground turkey, because she said, you need meat, honey. So I was like, okay, maybe we do. So it was probably, it was whatever it was. It was cheap. It was like $1 or something back then for a big, roll of ground turkey meat. So we started adding that back in. And then about 9 months later, we moved here to our house. And of course, there's cows and neighbors. And the neighbors like, we'll sell you cows like anytime you want for your freezer. And it was a great price, So I knew grass-fed meat was great. I'm not being a snob. Any meat is great. Whatever you can afford is great. Don't let that deter you at all. Just do the best you can with where you're at. Grocery store meat is still better than not meat. Okay. So
absolutely.
Yeah. But we had a neighbor, and he was willing to sell us a cow when we needed one. And that started just having meat in our freezer, like actual beef in our freezer again. And so it had been that many years, like it had just been a long time. My husband and I have been married 25 years. So a lot of our years were just super light or just no meat at all. So about, maybe 2 years ago now, I went to the dentist, and they were like, oh my, like your teeth are horrible. And he was like, oh, you're going to need like 5 implants and root canals and like all of this stuff done. He was like, if you don't mind me asking, like, what is your diet, And by this time, our diet was very, very simplified. Plus we had meat. We did have meat. We ate meat like maybe twice a week. My husband and my boys might eat a little bit more often. I might make it, but I had some kids that just didn't prefer meat at all, because I was super like plant-based was still the best thing in my mind. That was just the best nutrition. I had like a stack of plant-based books and, all of the stuff. And then I had a scare with thyroid cancer 5 years ago. So that really threw me into plant-based, like deep into plant-based, because that was just the only answer that I knew. And so when this thing came up with my teeth, I was just like, what in the world? I don't know. I don't understand it. Well, now I understand it. Yeah, you weren't eating meat. Like you weren't, you weren't getting any nutrition. So I had all my teeth fixed. And then, but my little kids, when I took them to the dentist, they were just loaded with cavities. The first time I took my son, who's 8 now, to the dentist, so he was probably like 3, he had more cavities than he had teeth. Some teeth had like 2 or 3 cavities. He was loaded with cavities, and the dentist was like, I don't usually see this. And I mean, they see a lot of kids at this dentist office, it's a kid's dentist. And she's like, unless if there's like soda or juice or candy, things like, I'm like, no, we don't do any of those things. None of those things. Now, what we did, we had 2 dairy cows at the time, and we did a lot of dairy. It was all homemade dairy, but we did a lot of dairy, like, yogurt, ice cream, kefir, milk, cream. And we just had all of the dairy constantly, tons of it. And, but we didn't have a whole lot of meat either, so we were just having it probably like the standard American family has meat. Like, we had vegetables, we had some kind of starch on the plate, and then a little bit of meat. That was our dinners,
And
so
that, right?
yes, yeah, absolutely. So it was just like the dentist couldn't understand it, and of course I didn't understand it. And all 3 of my little ones, they've gone through so much stuff with dental work because we just didn't have, I think, proper nutrition, and just the carbohydrates is just sugar. I just watched an interview with Dr. Baker did with a periodontist, and he was just saying how the pH in your mouth, whether it's little kids or if it's older people, in younger kids, it's usually cavities, but in older people, you have like the degeneration in your gums and your teeth, and everything starts to just disintegrate because of the pH, and the carbohydrates. And I was just like, in thinking that we were doing something really good and healthy, we weren't. We really, really weren't. So yeah, and then my husband he's got arthritis really bad. So, and again, like, he ended up having shoulder surgery. They wanted to replace both shoulders, but we're holding off on that until, like a last ditch effort. Hopefully, Lord willing, that won't have to happen. But we went through all different years of dealing with that. And the one stem cell doctor that took stem cells out of his hip and put them into his shoulder, he said, you have the shoulder of like an 80, 90-year-old man that had like a hard life. He's like, it doesn't make any sense to me at all. And I'm just thinking now in the back of my mind, like, I mean, I'm probably responsible for a lot of that because it's plant-based, that plant-based, he wasn't getting the nutrition that his body needed. And, so now it's healing. He's doing great. I mean, about a week into Carnivore, he freaked us all out because he was like, I feel so good. I'm going to do a push-up. And we're like, no, like, no. You're gonna hurt yourself worse, And he was like, I can do it. And he like gets down and does a push-up. Well, now he's doing like 50 push-ups at a time, like several times a day.
That's
and
amazing.
He has had shoulder surgery, and it's not attached correct. Like his muscles aren't attached correctly the way that they had to make room for the arthritis, whatever. So he's limited in what type of exercise he can do, but he can do these push-ups and he is just feeling great. But there's no inflammation. And his body, I think, is able to heal, I mean, at least maybe we can just stop the arthritis in its tracks and it doesn't have to continue to degenerate at the speed that it was, at least. So it's been life-changing, for everybody.
That's amazing. Like, this is why I love YouTube and I love the carnivore space, because everybody can hear stories like yours, stories like mine, of the radical healing that happens when you change your diet. And I just wanted to say, like, I don't want you to, I don't think you do, but I don't want you to have any guilt of like the way you were eating before. And you're like, oh, it was probably my fault for like all of these things. It's not. You were going with the information that is available.
Right.
And you were going off of like the people that were telling you about their plant-based diet. They weren't saying that so you can be, harmed in any way. It's because they thought they were giving the correct information.
Absolutely.
They're like this. And so, wow, what a big win, right?
Yeah.
I would love to know how you transitioned your kids from eating plant-based to carnivore.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, it was pretty easy because we had already been eating such a restrictive, I guess you want to say, diet for many years. We've always done weird things with our food. So, we've always been those healthy, crunchy people, So
Yes.
our kids were kind of used to that. So like they don't know what a Pop Tart is or any like
Ooh,
they
that's
have
good.
no idea. Yes, my older ones probably do now, but they would hear different things and they're like, "What is that?" And trying to explain what a Pop Tart is to like a 10-year-old that and you're like, "Well, it's kind of like a pastry, but it's got jelly in it, or it could have cinnamon and sugar in it. And then it's kind of like pressed together and flat, and then you could put it in a toaster." And they're like, "What is this?" So we're at the store. I'm like, "These are Pop Tarts, okay? This is what they're talking about." Like, yeah, they're kids. And they're like, "Oh, okay, all right, yeah."
Oh,
So we
that's
didn't
funny.
yeah, so we didn't have that obstacle to get over. I mean, basically, we were just eating our meat and vegetables, and our vegetables off season when we didn't have a garden and all of that was just the green beans that we had limited to, and then tomatoes, so like tomato sauce we had, and potatoes. We were big on potatoes, uh, all in every shape and variety, just like whole potatoes, French fries. We could do potatoes any old way, mashed potatoes, rice, things like that were just, but whole foods was what was on our plates. And so we kind of came to this in June. And mainly it was my husband's arthritis that was just giving him so much trouble. And I was hearing these different testimonies of people, and I came across Carrie's channel, Homestead How, and just saw his dramatic health improvement. And we have this other couple in real life that are really our friends, and they've been doing it for a year, and they've had all kinds of health, just amazing, improvements and reversing diabetes and all kinds of major things. And I thought, you know what? We have meat in our freezers. I mean, we do have meat, and we're not going through it very quickly anyway, because I'm like rationing it out to everybody. So I'm just like, I think we could do this. I mean, we're really just cutting off a couple things off of our plate at this point. We could do this. And so that's what we did. Well, now we did have a whole bunch of fruit because I was still like, buying tons of fruit every week. I had all these baskets on my countertop, and I would fill up all these baskets with fruit because, you need every kind. And Americans, right? And you need apples, you need oranges, you need all these things like every week. And that
And they're
was the
so beautiful, right?
yeah.
And they look beautiful all on the counter and baskets. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do that every week. So I'm like, okay, well, I have all this fruit when I made this decision. I'm like, well, we'll just finish eating through that because I'm not going to throw it away. But then once that's gone, that's it. We won't go back to buying more fruit. So the only thing that I've kept is frozen berries. So I keep frozen blueberries on hand. And now lately I've been getting the frozen mixed berries because it has like raspberries, blueberries, and I think strawberries are in there. So my kids like that. That's like their carbohydrates. So they just use them as snacks, and that's just how they just randomly eat blueberries and mixed berries and stuff like that. But yeah, for the first couple months, well, I just told them, we're going to do this carnivore thing. I think they were honestly excited because, about half of them liked meat, and I was like, kind of like the meat Nazi, like, well, make sure you're eating your rice and your sweet potato too, because I was the big plant-based woman. So so they were like, cool, we're just gonna eat meat and mom's not gonna be honest to like eat all this salad and other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they were pretty excited about it. And we did start buying bacon from the store because I'm like, anything that I can add to this to make this exciting, let's go for it. So bacon was always like a special treat that we hardly never did. So we definitely added in like copious amounts of bacon to our weekly meals. They had bacon when they wanted bacon because I just wanted to keep the morale up. You know, I just wanted everybody to stay excited. So whatever it took for that. And later, maybe like a month into it, we found out about the relight with the flavors. And that kept everybody really, really happy because they weren't used to getting like flavored drinks and things like that. Like we've always just done like water, and when we had the cows, we had milk, you know. But other than that, there wasn't a whole lot of options in the house for drinks. So my older kids have coffee or like a cup of hot tea. But I mean, boring drinks. Like we don't have relight, you know, there was no flavored stuff. So that was like a big deal, you know, that mom was like allowing flavored drinks. Like that kept the troops happy. And then, yeah, we kept smoothies like available that I would tell them like they could have a fruit, taking their berries, frozen berries, water. And then I still had these, I think it was Sun Warrior is the brand. It's just like a very, it's keto.
Mhm. I know.
Everything's keto. It's keto. It was just like a Whole Foods, whatever, protein powder, basically. It has plants in it, but it's a clean, very, very clean protein powder. So they put a scoop of that, some frozen berries, and some water. And they would have that like once, maybe, I don't know, every other day or whenever they wanted it. And eventually what happened was that just kind of fizzled out. Like now it's so rare if any of them want a smoothie. Like a month or more can go by and nobody's using the smoothie machine. So it's just interesting how that is. And it's neat, like that we just kind of gave them the space to do it and they just kind of adapted to it, you know? So there was some little bumps in the road. Like my ones that didn't like meat were kind of like, I don't want a hamburger again, you know? And so, so in the early months, we did like allow for like some sauces that weren't necessary, like they were clean, you know, ingredients,
Mhm.
but still they had some sugar in it or whatever. Just anything that would help with the transition, keep everybody happy. You know, in the beginning, I used not teriyaki. One of my boys liked teriyaki sauce. And I found like a zero carb or whatever, like teriyaki sauce. It wasn't like fake sugar. It was very expensive. It was on Amazon. I can't remember the
Was it
name brand.
like a coconut amino acid kind of thing? Like
Yeah,
a soy sauce, kind of like a
yeah,
of a
yeah.
coconut?
And I think I
Okay.
got like 2 bottles, and I don't even think he finished the second bottle because it was like, this isn't real teriyaki sauce. It doesn't have any sugar in it, you know. Kind of the fun wore out on the teriyaki sauce.
Mhm.
But yeah, I used some
Absolutely.
General Tso's, which has a ton of sugar in it. But you know what? Whatever is going to keep you like in the game, if it's not going to throw you off into the deep end and you're going to go chase carbs, if it's just going to make it like so you're able to eat your meat that night and be happy, it just a few carbs are not going to, that's just my opinion. It's not perfection here at our house. So it's like, if that's going to keep you on the boat, and that General Tso sauce did, it kept me on the wagon for like a couple months. You know, I didn't have it all the time, but there was once in a while where it was just like, I just want something on this meat. But now it's kind of like everybody's kind of moved over to butter being their topping. Like
Mhm.
they just love butter on their burgers, just some butter and salt, and they're happy. Um,
That's
so
beautiful. That's great.
yeah. So they're doing good.
I love hearing that, you're like, what about when you were talking about the kids that don't like me? I was kind of like, oh, thinking about my daughter. She's not the
Okay.
biggest fan of meat. And my
Okay.
son has been carnivore since he was 6 months old. We did baby led weaning with him because mama was carnivore, so he was carnivore and eating what I was
Right.
eating. But she had, grown up with standard American diet, but no processed foods because my husband has ulcerative colitis and we stayed away from preservatives. So I learned how to read labels very early on in our relationship, to keep him stable and healthy and all that stuff. And um, so, like, So you suggest like using like sauces and stuff just to get the like I don't want to say like routine, but like the muscle of build the habit. That's the word I'm thinking of. The habit of
Yeah.
consuming meat. Okay,
Yes. Yeah.
just to make
And
it
we
more fun.
Yeah, and we even allowed honey, like with the eggs, like let them put honey on their eggs, just it's something we're not putting honey on it, but
Right.
like for little kids, honestly, I mean, they're running all around. They got lots of energy. They're going to burn it off anyway. It might not be perfect, but if it makes them happy to scramble up their eggs and put some honey on it, go crazy. I mean, we put a little bit of, we did like a little bit of pumpkin spice, or a little bit of cinnamon or a little bit of vanilla in it. It's not perfect carnivore, but if you put it in the eggs and then you can sell them as French toast eggs, it, it made everybody happy for a little while. So, it's all about that. And then my girlfriend told me about getting a waffle maker and letting them make like keto waffles, is just eggs, you just scramble up the eggs and then you can put whatever you want in it if you wanted to put cinnamon or vanilla or whatever. And then they put a little bit of honey. Well, now they're weaned off the honey because the honey kind of became a problem. Yeah, the honey
More honey,
became
please. It's like they start
yeah,
eating it out of the bottle instead of.
but yeah, my 5-year-old got caught like multiple times, like in the kitchen, just like drinking honey, like out of a
Yeah.
5 thing of honey, and we were going through a 5-pound container of honey like every couple days, and I'm
Okay.
like, so yeah, you see where carbohydrates, I mean, they are addictive
Addicting.
even for little people. Like it makes them kind of crazy. And they will do that even sometimes with the blueberries. Like the blueberries can get very out of hand if we don't like, you don't want to be like a Nazi, but it's like, okay, you can have blueberries like twice a day and then you're good. Because if not, like now in the beginning, I was like, you can have them whenever. Because my husband's like, a little crazy with the blueberries. Like, we have blueberries all over the house. And I'm like, look, it's what they have. Okay. Just let them
It's
have
what
it.
they have. Yeah, you have to set a limit to it. I agree about that. But no, what I'm hearing what you're saying is very refreshing to me because I feel like when we watch people on YouTube, because that's where I learned about carnivore diet. I also watched through
Yes.
Carrie and Dr. Barry, Baker,
Yeah.
Chafee, all the doctors.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it's quite refreshing to hear your approach to it because you're keeping it lighthearted because children are most children, I should say, most children
Mhm.
are metabolically healthy. They're not,
Right.
they're not having the arthritis like your husband or the ulcerative colitis like my husband or
Right.
the obesity. Obesity is a little bit more rare, even though it is climbing up. Unfortunately, I think it's like 20% of American children are obese right now, which
Right.
is travesty. And this is why I'm glad we're having this dialogue because like your children don't have to be like that. But what's
Right.
refreshing is that you're allowing the children to be what they are, children.
Mhm.
But I
Yes.
think it's like having freedom within limits. You're like, these are the
Yes.
foods we have. You can eat what you are craving and what you're enjoying, but this is, what we have. And
Sure.
yeah, sometimes I struggle with my daughter. I've talked about that on my channel. I
Mhm.
was thinking about maybe I should put her more on like a low carb or because
Uh-huh.
she won't eat vegetables.
Okay.
And she thinks a lot about carbohydrates because she remembers. It's like, and she's
Okay.
very smart and very bright. And it's just like, and sometimes I'm like, okay, we're going to have chicken thighs today. And then she'll be like, well, I don't want chicken thighs. And then it's like,
Mhm.
it's like a bit of a battle to get her to eat. And so I like, I like your approach and I think I need to be a little bit more lighthearted about it and I like that. That's basically what I'm
Sure.
saying.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my 5-year-old tonight, he was like, I don't want a hamburger. And I was like, well, what happened was we got hams for Thanksgiving because we're going to do a carnivore Thanksgiving with some other friends. And we're having ice cream for dessert. So we're not going to be totally weird. We are going to have ice cream for dessert.
There you
But
go.
but we got hams and then my older boys decided we needed big hams. So now we had these little pre-made sliced hams, and so my little ones have been eating ham. So they had like ham for breakfast, ham for lunch, which I told them they have to have eggs with it. They couldn't just have ham. And then dinner time came around and my daughter's like, I just want ham. And I was like, you're not having any more ham. Like you're going to have some beef for dinner. Like you can't just have. So I gave her all the options for beef, what we could make up. And she cried because she wanted ham,
Yeah.
and my husband came home and then she was just playing and whatever. And I was just like, yeah, she's been upset because she wants more ham, but it's just because it's something out of the usual that we don't usually have all the time. And my little boy, he's 5, and he's like, I don't want a hamburger. I just want more ham. Well, sure, it's like sugar sweetened ham from the grocery store. I'm sure you do want it. You fry it up in a pan with some butter. It's like candy.
Yes.
So that's where the mom part, kind of comes in. And he was happy. He went ahead and decided to have his hamburger. And I said, do you want some butter on it? He was like, oh, yeah. And then once he takes a bite of it, if he's legitly hungry, they're going to eat it, if they're hungry. Eat. So, yeah, it's been neat, and like my older ones, I just give them a lot of grace too, because my one son is an adult technically, he's 18. So, and the other ones, they have a business, they have a construction business, so they're out and about, and so they found a hamburger place up the road. And I tell them, you should have it without the bun, and sometimes they might not have it with a bun, or sometimes half a bun. Sometimes they'll have a hamburger with a whole bun. Like you said, if they're healthy kids, they can handle a hamburger bun once in a while. It's not going to, set them off the deep end health wise. So, but they're not getting French fries. They're not getting sodas, which we didn't do soda anyway, but they're not getting drinks, of whatever kind. They take their Relight with them. They put it in the water. And so everybody's really, adapted pretty well. And then for our church fellowship meals, there's always like a huge spread of food. Almost every week we have a big fellowship meal after church. So they've learned with that. But we were kind of weird anyway. Like we never were just like, sure, have at it. You can have Oreos and cake and like stack it all, high and deep. We never did that anyway. So with the little kids, the big kids just get their meat or, pick out meat and stuff from the, food that's there. But the little kids, if there's like chicken pot pie, or the one week there was lasagna, and I was like, I'll give them one, you can have like one of these things, like a normal food. And it's a special treat. I mean, they're still having their meat, and it's a special treat. It's not the end of the world, because I don't want to create like mommy and daddy told us, like they put this on us. And as soon as we get out of here, dude, we are eating lasagna. Like they're crazy. We're eating this, So trying to teach them how to balance that life, so.
Yeah, I hear that a lot in like with some of the moms that I've talked to about carnivore. It's like, how do you do that balance where your kids are going to grow up and they're going to know that their friends they're eating pizza and they're eating, like all of that, and like they're having popcorn at the movie theaters and stuff like that. And I think like one of the best things to do is just educate them, especially if they're older, like clear out your house, have only the best foods available that you can afford and you feel comfortable with. And, and I'm not saying that everybody has to be strictly carnivore. I think that at least, the very least, whole food, clean ingredient, like low carb, like that is like the minimum. I think everyone should be at least low carb. And then like some days my daughter, she does line diet. Like she just wants to have meatballs, it's just ground beef, little, not even with egg or anything, just like ground beef and salt. And then you just put them in the oven. And sometimes she just wants to eat all that all day. And then sometimes she's like, she's like, wants cheese all day. You know, obviously I don't do
Mhm.
that. But, you know, it's like you can have cheese with your meat.
Uh-huh.
Or you can have some strawberries and stuff. Like that's like the only really fruit that we have in the house is strawberries.
Mhm.
She's not
Okay.
too into the blueberries, and the boy, he's like, where's the meat? So
Right.
so I think you handled that really well. Have you seen any like behavioral changes since they've went from like more like plant-based foods to more meat in their diet?
I have, my 14-year-old son, he is more emotional. He's just a more emotional kind of kid. And I think being that 13, 14-year-old age range, whether it's boys or girls, hormones are just crazy. Hormones are crazy. And, I've gone through it before, twice before already. So I would just explain to him, I'm like, sometimes if you're just upset or you're just feeling really frustrated and you don't really know why, it's just your hormones, honey. It's not a big deal. It's just your hormones are, just wreaking havoc on you. And we would have those conversations, and since going carnivore, he has just been like even keel, just super
Oh, that's
duper even
great.
keel. I mean, he still has they all have different personalities. I mean, every one of them are very different. So he still has his own personality, but it's just like there's not the big crazy roller coaster of emotions, high and low. And our relationship is much better. He's very independent. My third son down, we just say he's a mountain man. Like he was born in the wrong age. If you gave the boy a shotgun and a knife and threw him up in Montana, you could check on him in 5 years and he would be flourishing. Like he is just that
Wow.
kind of kid. He is just
That's
like,
amazing.
yeah,
That's rare.
he's just an old fashioned mountain man. So he kind of has that personality. Like, I mean, he's just very, very independent, so, and he's the one that does the leather working and all that kind of stuff. He's just that kind of
It's an
person.
old soul, it seems
He
like.
is he is an old soul. So now he's in his wheelhouse, and it's kind of funny because he was one that wasn't so much a meat kid at all. If I had like rice and sweet potatoes and stuff like that and whatever meat on the side, he would be like, "Oh, just give me the rice and sweet potatoes. I'm good. I don't need the meat." But now I mean, it kind of fits his genre anyway of this mountain man kind of thing. He is like steak and eggs, and now he's all excited because he learned how to make these steaks. He can make steaks way better than me. I mean, he knows just how to do them precisely. And I was teasing him tonight. I was like, "You are living your best life now, buddy. You are just like cooking meat for breakfast." Yeah, it's so funny.
There's not too many 14-year-olds that know how to cook a steak.
Yeah.
We on Lioness Lifestyle, we had Sophia eat steak, and she's I believe she's 16, and it's like I watched a video of hers and she was like reverse searing a steak, and I was like, there's not too many teenagers that know this. So I feel like carnivore is like teaching if you get them in the kitchen, you're gonna be
Exactly.
learning like life skills. Like I mean,
Yes.
when I moved out of the house, I just knew how to boil pasta and like pour a bowl of cereal. Like and my mom cooked, it was like my mom cooked. I just did not have an interest. I wanted things that were simple and easy. And but I think that's so great that you have the kids in the kitchen and your little mountain man. I love that. I
Yeah.
feel like my son, we call him, because he is just like he's muscle, and you can tell he's very bright, but he's only 1.5, so he's only saying so many words. He's climbing
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah.
He's like mountain goat. I don't you have mountain man, I have mountain goat. I don't know what to do. Help me, babe.
Yeah.
He's pulling chairs. He's climbing up on the dining table, and then the dining table is right next
Oh,
to the island. So he's island hopping, and it's
he's
like,
just a normal boy. He's just
yeah,
a normal boy. Not all little boys are
mm,
like that. I've had some that are very docile that'll just sit and play with blocks, but I've had our first one, oh my. Yeah, and our fourth one, and it's just like, yeah, crazy. They're crazy little people. I don't know, but their sanity does come back. Just
well, that's
wait.
good.
Yeah, it does come back. But they'll be your biggest helpers.
I'm
there's
sure.
certain boys, they are just made to just conquer things. And yeah,
To be
he'll just,
fathers, right? To be
yeah,
husbands and fathers.
yeah, he'll be handling business for you, mowing the grass, taking out the trash, doing everything you need done, I'm sure.
One day you're gonna when the kids all get older and you're gonna have like grandchildren. I can see you sitting there and all your children around you, and then they're like, "Hey, mom,
Aw.
do you want a drink? Let me get you some water." And it's like, "Oh wait, let me take out that trash for you." And you're gonna walk and be like, "What happened?" Like that
Yeah,
must.
especially
I
the
I love.
boys, they take care of you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so sweet, and I like how you and your husband talk about like the values of a traditional family.
Mhm.
And so like, how do you introduce that? I guess they just see it growing up, right? But are there certain values that you like to talk about like on a daily or weekly basis just to solidify the idea of like marriage and traditionalism and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just, living it out and just being an example. I mean, kids know, they know what your relationship is with between a husband and a wife. They see past everything, and they know in their heart what it is. And just being sincere, being real in front of them, just me snuggling up with their daddy at night on the couch, and you know just being affectionate, and just they see that, they see, oh, daddy's getting ready to come home, let's clean up real quick or whatever. And just that, being excited, oh, today's Thursday, it's daddy's last day, then he's going to be home, for a couple days. And that they know, they just see that and they live that. So I think that builds stability in the kids, is when the mom and dad are, on the same page, and uh, just being a good example. And then our big social thing is church, of course, on Sunday. And I know it's like really downplayed in this day and time and everything, but church used to be like the mainstay of the social world before there was social media. People
That's true.
socialized at church,
Yeah,
and that was the highlight of your week. And for my kids, it's still the highlight of our week. Like, we get to go and we get to be around other Christians. And, it's just, I mean, we just enjoy that. And of course, that, they're seeing that everybody, that you're loving each other, you're preferring other people, you're learning how to be respectful to other people, just all those Christian values are at church. I mean, that's where old school America, that was kind of where kids learned values, you know. Um,
okay, that's great. Yeah, that's kind of like what we do. Like we try to show our affection and we talk things out in front of the kids and
yes,
we explain like sometimes maybe there's something that's upsetting us and we explain that to the kids. Mommy and
yes,
daddy are talking about something, it has nothing to
yes,
do with you, and
right,
just and my I didn't I'll just get a little personal for a second. I didn't grow up with my biological father. He was
right,
not around. He rejected me not once but twice when I found him at age 30, and like I'm okay now, but it's like, so I
mhm,
felt this emptiness when it came to like, and I actually did have a father figure, which really helped, but then you have this like this missing piece inside of you. And so when I was growing up, I knew that I wanted to find a husband and I wanted to have the nuclear family, and I wanted it to and then later on when I found God, I wanted it to be a place where we go to God and we feel comforted by him. And
yes,
yeah, so that's been quite a journey for us, and we have the kids, going to church with us and everything like that. And so I feel like we're on the right path just hearing how you
that's
guys are doing
awesome.
things.
That's
So I
awesome.
love that.
Yeah.
So let's see if we have one more. I say let's ask one more question, then we can go through the comments, say hi to
Okay.
everybody, and if anybody has a question for Faith, please put a question mark or a bunch of Q's or get my attention. Please, let's ask questions and have fun around here. So let's see. So you guys have longhorns
We
cattle?
have we have longhorns, but if anybody's in the East Texas area
Yeah.
and wants longhorns, we're selling our longhorns because we're switching all over to beef. So we just got low line Angus, which are Angus cows, like you've heard of Black Angus. So we have
Yes.
Black Angus, but their legs are like short.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, so they're really cool. And the lowline Angus were bred, I think they came from Ireland, but they were bred to just be very docile, easy to manage, and they're just shorter than the traditional standard size Angus. So we have them, and we do have a lowline Hereford bull who's so cute. And he is like a quarterbacker. I mean, he's just like a beast. He looks like a buffalo shrunk down like on these little legs. So it's the same idea, Hereford cow, but just shrunk down. So we're going to get him a wife over here soon. And so we'll have two different herds. We'll have the Angus over at the ranch, and then we'll have the Herefords here, but just going more towards fattier breeds of beef, because the Longhorn are beautiful and they're amazing. We love them, but they take too long to grow up, and yeah, so we need to change up. So we have 3 Longhorn mamas and 1 beautiful black Longhorn bull, and he's so friendly. He came up to me the other day and put his head up against the fence and just let me rub his head. I was like,
Oh,
go to the butcher.
no.
My oldest son Matt, so I'm like, look, he's just standing here letting me rub his head. He's way too nice. And my oldest son Matt's like, Mom, they're all nice like that. We have to. I always want to keep any of them. Like if they have a cow in the trailer, I just go out and pet them, and I'm like, well, maybe we should keep that one. Is there another one we could trade out or something? Maybe we should keep him.
You want to put a collar on them, right? And just bring them on home. Here's your bedroom. Here's your bowl of water. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet. But I know
Yeah.
you're giving a good life to these cows.
Yes, they do have a good life. Yeah, we
How
really.
So you said you had 3 females and then a bull, and then you're going to have how many are you going to have after switching over to the
Well, we had worked up to about a herd of 20, but we sold off. I don't remember how many. We sold off most of them. We have 3 Longhorn mamas left, and the bull and a little baby nursing calf with her. So neighbors were asking about them, so maybe they'll buy them, but they're a great deal. They're beautiful, and they are registered. If anybody's out there who wants some beautiful Longhorns, yeah.
Your favorite call.
Yes. Shoot us an email and we can work something out. But yeah, but getting back to the food, it is funny that we were talking about my one son cooking, and all of the boys really just took the bull by the horns, so to speak, with the carnivore, and they got a smoker off of Craigslist, and now they know how to smoke meat. They have their grill. They got a grill used too, and they have like probes, and they have like the app on the phone, so they have the probe hooked up to the app, so they're like, they know the right temperature, and then they smoke it for this long and then put it on the grill, and so they just man the meat out back. And I mean, it's been great for me because it takes a lot off my plate. I don't have to, they're excited to cook meat. And I'm like, okay. And my 8-year-old just realized the other day that he can cook all of our food now, because I told him, well, he's probably not perfect at steaks yet, but I was just trying to pump him up too. I was like, you know how to cook everything that we eat now. Like, that is really cool. Like, you know how to scramble eggs, you know how to make the waffles, you know how to, the keto waffles, you know how to do ground beef, like, make little burgers, because the big boys taught him how to make burgers on the grill, and he makes sausages. He defrosted his sausage the night before, and he was like my super veggie boy. Like he didn't even eat meat for like a couple years. When he was a toddler, he would not touch meat, only vegetables. Yes, this kid. So it's a big deal for him that he's just like, defrosting his beef sausage and getting it all ready for the next day. And yeah, he's learned how to do it on the grill. Yeah. So it's really cool. It's been really cool.
Well, that's great. Let's say we've had some nice viewers, and let's just say hi to everybody. So good. Carla says, first, hi, Carlos. Blue Diamond Bill, second. Oh, second. No, we appreciate you being here. We have Caitlin's family farmstead. Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, Carlos was saying howdy. Caitlin saying hi. We have Valerie saying hi, ladies. Hello. And then, oh, my friend Nia, she says, so excited for this conversation. Thanks, Ellie and Faith. Carnivore Moms Unite. She's also a carnivore mom, and she's
Okay.
really great. She has a great channel. I really recommend everybody going to check it out with her. We did a carnivore Thanksgiving collab where we both made what we would make for our family carnivore Thanksgiving to inspire others, and so that's a great video to check out. Mike says, I did not know about teeth and not eating meat. Yeah, if you're interested in that, I would look into the Weston Price Foundation. He was a dentist that traveled all over the world studying teeth, and they found that a lot of people who were more agriculturally based would have like crooked teeth and a lot of cavities and stuff like that. So that's really interesting information. There's lots of studies from that foundation. And they're more low carb, but they do put an emphasis on meat and egg yolks and liver and all that stuff. So something to look into. Brenda says, hi from Kentucky. Hello. This is a former fat girl. She's one of my friends. She's a nutritionist and she's awesome. And then Bruce says, I knew how to cook steak on the grill when I was 14. Oh, there you go. Nice. That's awesome. I love that. 147. Faith is sharing how each of her children. Oh yeah, she was explaining what you were doing. Yeah, each of her children is taking to the diet changes. So helpful to hear. And then Modest Keto Couple. All of your kids are so independent. I remember way back when Matt and James were basically running the farm while TD worked, and you cared for the home and little ones. So sweet. My oldest was so calm and always stayed right by my side, but my second boy, our neighbor, called him wild. There was a kid in our neighborhood growing up, and he was always shirtless, and he was always had some kind of weapon in his hand. They called him the Hammer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's what I think back. So that just popped in my mind. They also say, what better place to be than church with like-minded folks? I agree. Since going to church, especially with the little ones, it's just been feeling so nice to just have that sense of community, because I did not grow up with that at all. So that's always so nice. Oh, we have a question. How did your boys get their first business started?
Well, their first business, I think, was pulling weeds for the neighbor. And we have these things down here called goat weeds. I think Texas, maybe it's the South. We have our own. You might have experienced some of this, Ellie. I don't know. But they have crazy weeds down here. Okay. Stuff doesn't die in the South. It just lives it might go dormant, but it just comes back. Right. So
plans are out to kill you, right?
Crazy. It's crazy. So we have one type of weed that we have is goat weeds, and nothing will eat them, not even goats. So anyway, it's just a hassle for farmers, with cattle in their pasture. So they were probably, 9, 7, and 6 when we moved here. And the neighbor was like, I'll pay you if you'll go, pull out those goat weeds out in the field, because, they were older. And so that was their first job. Their second job that they got was working for a paraplegic man in the neighborhood that he has a lawn mowing business. But he has the machinery on the back of his pickup truck that can move his wheelchair, gets him out. But he needed help getting onto from the chair onto the zero turn mower, and then off of it, and then somebody to put the zero turn back into the back of the truck for him, and that kind of stuff. So, and weed eating, he could do the mowing, but he needed a young man to come and do the trimming, around the yards. So that was their second job. They worked for him for a couple years, and then they worked for an older couple that became good friends of ours. That was through Craigslist. We had bought something from them on Craigslist, and Here in the South, if you buy something from Craigslist, you usually make a friend. It's just the way that it goes. It's either a very scary situation and you regret that you did the Craigslist. You're like, oh, was it worth it? I don't know. Are we going to get out of here? It's either that or you make a really great friend for life. It's like, there's not a whole lot of in between we found with Craigslist in the South. No. But, sorry. But so anyway, friends of ours, older couple, and they started going there and working for them, just doing odd jobs. They had like a list of stuff, painting, fixing a fence, just all kinds of little jobs. And I mean, they didn't pay them a whole lot, but I would drive them there and drop them off. And then she would even make them lunch, which she didn't have to do, but she liked to do that. So she would make them a little lunch, and then I would come and pick them up, and they loved working for them. They worked for them for probably a couple years. And then just little by little, I guess as they've grown, the business ideas have grown kind of along with it. So, they got the Longhorn, and then they started selling some of their cows, and now they sell a little bit of their beef as we have it available. And, we were growing a bunch of stuff in the garden and like teas and stuff a few years back, right before 2020 happened. And so we had like a whole bunch of like fig leaves and things like that. And they were like, I think we could sell tea, And so that kind of blossomed into like this tea and coffee business. I found a local roaster who is family owned, and they do all of their coffees and everything. So we started selling coffee, and they have their own little brand. And they're kind of just entrepreneurial kids. We've always just kind of been like, yeah, that's a great idea. You should do that. Or, even giving them ideas like, hey, you're really good with, working with leather and stuff. You know what? I bet you could make belts, and would you like to do that? And then they'll just go with it. Like, oh, okay, well, if I can make belts, let me look on YouTube and watch all these people make, stamp leather and do all this different. Maybe I can do tooling with leather, and maybe I can make earrings, and just kind of whatever. We're just kind of their cheerleaders, in the background. And they've just kind of run with it. And, lately, they've had the sawmill business now for a couple years, and then they've got the mobile unit. So now they can take the sawmill where they need to go and do that kind of thing. And now they've like kind of blossomed into construction, just like handyman jobs, because
blow my mind with all this.
It's crazy. Yeah, that little boy is going to be very busy. Just trust me, Ellie. So, there's like an older community up the road, and I can't remember how. I think we stopped there one day. They were out in the yard just to say hi and introduce ourselves. And then she had a leaky sink, and then that's just led one thing to the next. And now my second son down, he's real talented with construction stuff. So just anything that they need. I mean, the word spread fast that he could fix things. And so they made up little business cards and put them all, in the feed stores and in the local hardware stores. And so now they have Brothers Construction, and they just...
You're breaking my heart. That is so cute.
Yeah. They designed their little signs. Now they have yard signs to put out. And, I don't know. I think it's just going to kind of grow with them. I think that they'll just continue they love working together. They love doing, all the different things. So I don't know where it will go or what they'll end up doing, but so far it's worked out,
That's amazing. Wow. We have another question.
Okay.
I'm curious, is it truly more cost effective to purchase a cow from a local farmer?
Well, I guess it just depends on where you live in the country. I'm not, where you're at. If you're purchasing it straight from the farmer, I would think that would be more cost effective, but you're really just going to have to do the math on it and figure it out for your family. I mean, I'm just being totally, totally honest. I don't know. It probably just depends on where you live, and like our relationship with our farm, our neighbor next door. That was amazing. I mean, we got meat for like $3.95 a pound for years, years and years. I mean, we can't even do that. We have more than that now into our own beef, but um it just really depends. I mean, but with getting a whole cow, you're also getting organs, you're getting all of those nicer cuts that are way more expensive, like your roasts and your steaks and all of that stuff. Like if you're trying to buy that, I don't know how big your family is either, but if you're trying to buy all of those cuts, I mean, I don't know how you would, you know, pay for steaks and all of that stuff. I don't know how we would do it with 8 people. It would be a lot. So I'm thankful that, we're in cow country and we have cows and we have access to cows, so that makes it a lot easier.
Well, that's a great question and a great answer. Nia wants to know, what's your favorite carnivore meal?
It's just beef. We're kind of, I don't know. We're not real. I love our beef sausage is really, really good. If you do have a cow butchered and your butcher can make beef sausage, or if you can get beef sausage at the grocery store even, we love the beef sausage. Like that is just where it's at. So yeah, like a hamburger even with some butter on it and a couple of fried eggs.
Same.
Sometimes I'll eat that over steak. Like it just really depends,
Yeah, definitely. Nia and I eat tons of burgers, so we're very simple. We keep
Yeah.
it simple. Like
Yeah.
you don't have to go too crazy.
No.
There's just a few more questions. How much beef are you going through a month? That must be hard to answer.
This is kind of crazy. Yeah, we didn't really realize how much beef we were going through a month until we started, and started tracking it. And I don't know what it is now because maybe it's kind of leveled out. But back like early on, it seemed like we were going through about a cow a month for our family, which is insane. I know that's insane. But that's about because I told my husband, I was like, okay, so all I have to do is find a cow every single month and get it to the butcher shop. Like basically that's my mission in life, which is fine. I can accept that. Like, I mean, it beats the heck out of trying to fill a prepper pantry with like 50-pound bags of rice and beans and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that was like a never ending challenge.
Did you do canning?
And we did canning. Yeah. And I'm just like, we're never going to have enough. Like, I always felt like that, no matter what size the garden was, no matter how many sweet potatoes we grew, no matter what we did. I'm like, this is never going to be enough food to sustain us. Like, this just is not going to work. And then once we started carnivore, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I just find a cow and then that's it. Like, seriously? I mean, it's a little bit of a challenge, but I tell my girlfriend who's older, her and her husband have been carnivore for a year now. I'm like, look, you don't even have to have a farm. You don't even have to have land. Okay. You don't even have to have a cattle trailer. Okay. Just find a cow. Just find a cow and rent a cattle trailer, go pick it up and make an appointment at the butcher shop and take it. You bought the cow, you're taking it to the butcher shop. I know it's a little complicated for some people, but really, like I mean, if you're doing that, like you said, buying a cow, I mean, it's so much, it is cheaper if you're doing it that way. Now, if you're buying something from some, grass-fed finished meat business that's charging you $15 a pound, well then, yeah, no, you could probably do it cheaper at the grocery store. I don't know, but there's ways to work around it.
Ooh. Yeah, and then we just have one more question. I think I want to be conscious of your time. Just recently started watching your live chat. Currently doing whole foods, organic, no sugar eating. What are some of the reasons plants in our diet is a negative?
Well, I just think that the meat is the most nutrition dense food that you can eat. And I mean, it's really, it makes all of the plants kind of like, I don't want to say empty calories. I mean, you can cut in, Ellie, if you're, but it just makes it so pointless of like, why? If you can just eat that simple, like a one ingredient, people talk about one ingredient meals, right? One ingredient foods. And it makes sense that your body can heal with a one ingredient food. And especially with ruminant animals, they've already pre-digested everything. Their meat is designed perfectly for our human bodies to heal us. It's they've already filtered out all of the junk through their stomach systems. And it's like if you can just have one food go into your body that's so easy on your system, rather than even like, broccoli and rice and, whatever, meat or mashed potatoes or whatever. And it's still more cumbersome for your body to do all of that breaking down. Whereas just hamburger or meat, it's very simple for your body to use that, and it's nutrient dense. I mean, you'll need to store like a third of the food, as far as calories and stuff. There was a doctor, and he wasn't talking about preparedness or anything, but when I listened to him, the bell went off in my head of just like how easy preparedness is with a carnivore diet, especially for a family, where it's just like he said, if you're eating just meat, the calories and the nutrition density is so much that like you would only need a third of the amount of calories that you would need on a regular diet that's real diverse and a whole bunch of different things. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense. That would be right. And if things get really hard, I mean, meat is it's the most nutritionally dense thing that you can eat. I'd much rather have even a little piece of meat than a can of string beans. I mean, a can of string beans is not going to give me much, or potatoes or something. It's not going to give you much, but a little bit of meat, that's going to carry you through.
So, from what my perspective and what I've learned from the doctors is that actually, what they say, a lot of the vitamins and minerals are in plants, our body can't absorb it with that nutrition that is supposedly in there. There are also anti-nutrients that our body will actually block, and so you're not, like you said, it's like you're not getting the best bang for your buck. It's like, and it puts your body into more work, and it's just really, I mean, you're just pooping it out. I'm sorry for like my crass language, but it's true. It just comes in, you digest it, your body does all that work, and then it comes out, and it's not really doing much for you. And I know that there are a lot of people out there that have inflammatory responses to plants, and so what a lot of people in the carnivore space say is that if you're having any kind of autoimmune condition, take this as an elimination diet so that you can see what is in your diet that's hurting you, because like 90%, maybe that's too hard, but like a lot of things can be cured with diet. It's and we don't have to rely on as much medicine and doctor treatments and all of that stuff. Like, it can be healed at home in your kitchen. And so that's something. So if you're like having migraines constantly, or you can't sleep well at night, or something like that, like there might be something, even though you're a whole food, organic, no sugar eating, which is fantastic in my opinion, a great start. There might be something that's still flaring you up, and wouldn't you want to know? Wouldn't you want to know if, like, you could sleep through the night without insomnia or snoring or sleep apnea or any of the so many things that people have healed on carnivore. And so I hope, why don't we leave on that note, just something to stir around in your brains. So I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much, Faith, for being on Mother Knows Best. This has been so much fun, and I feel like I've gained so much knowledge and wisdom from you, and I'm probably going to bother you again if I have a question on mothering. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's been super fun. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I want to thank everybody who came on to watch, and they were chatting in the comments. This was absolutely great, and I hope everyone has a wonderful, wonderful night. Bye, everyone.
Bye.